Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is my first video of my channel, and before we delve into the topic, I would just like to welcome you all for spending time to look at this video. So in this video, what I aim to do is that I want to share my life learning and my framework of achieving $1 million net worth in IT consulting. Now, why have I chosen this topic? The reason being is that the $1 million network is kind of a dream for most of the IT consulting or the general employees in the industry. I think if you leave apart the very high flyers in the industry, like people from big tech or people in very big positions, in the senior management positions in IT services company, or people from the banking industry who are into a very senior roles. If you leave apart that kind of profiles, a vast majority of IT consulting employees, particularly around their manager and a senior manager or the director level employees, they get stuck in the middle management, right? And sometimes breaking that senior manager or director level and moving up to partner or senior management is not achievable for many people. So but in this video I would like to just explain that even without moving into the senior management, how can we achieve a $1 million net worth by being a normal IT consultant. When I say a normal, I mean an average or like a better than average kind of IT consultant who is still not successful. That means the when I say not successful, I would mean that we in IT consulting you are not partners in your you have not achieved partnership in your late 30s or early 40s, or you have not moved to a senior management role in your late 30s or early 40s. That is how I define as being overly successful versus just doing good enough. Yeah. So with this context, let's get started. So we will look at into my personal framework to achieve millionaire net worth in IT consulting. Now before that, before you I share the framework, just a little about myself, so that you kind of have a background about the person who is sharing this framework, whether it is credible or not. So that is why I thought of giving you a bit of background about myself. So I have around 15 years of experience in business and IT solutions consulting. I have worked in leading IT consulting companies, and then I have worked in as a consultant, advising many private banks in Singapore. So I specialize in the private banking industry, and I have been working out of Singapore for more than a decade. I have worked in both India as well as Singapore, so I am very well aware of the salary levels in India versus Singapore, the cultural differences, the constraint in achieving a target net worth in both the countries. So with this context, I think I'll be able to do justice to this video. And before I share you the framework, I would like to say that all the recommendation that I have shared is based on personal experience. This is what has worked for me, and I think that anyone who is a bit more aware or self-aware into his career moves, then he or she can will be able to achieve $1 million net worth in a given time frame. Yeah. Okay, so this is my framework to achieve $1 million net worth. So the first thing, as IT consultant, I think we have to be very clear on which industry we are working. You want to work in an industry where the salary levels is high, or the industry is in a growing stage. For example, you want to work in e-commerce. So e-commerce is a high growth industry, and the pay levels are also high. Similarly, in banking, so banking may not be a high growth industry, but the salary levels are typically at the top end as compared to other industries. And you would like to avoid industries, let's say for example telecom, which are like sluggish industries, which with no growth, or like declining growth, right? And similarly, there are industry which can get disrupted with newer industries. You would like to avoid that kind of legacy industries, right? So the first thing is that just by choosing the right industry, you can make a big difference into your pay scale. I can give a very simple example. So for example, let's say a person who is working at, let's say, in the banking industry versus in, let's say, in the construction industry, the pay levels would be very different. Similarly, a person who is working in banking versus even a industry like semiconductors. So even though it's typically assumed that semiconductor is a very specialized industry, but the pay level in semiconductor industry is nowhere close to what you get in the banking. So that is why just by being in the right industry, you can maximize your odds of having a higher net worth at the end of your career. The second thing I would like to highlight is the skills. Now, at the start of the career, I think most people in the IT consulting are simply forced to take up what comes first as part of their assignment. They have very little, less or little say in that decision making process. But I think I would like to stress here that if given a choice, right, you'd like to choose something where the skills are a bit niche. For example, let's say uh, you are a developer, you get into something like Java development or .NET, where the supply is pretty big. So there the bargaining power of the employees would be lesser, and similarly the salary levels of such skill set would be like forced downwards depending on the supply in the market. But if you get into some niche skill set, for example, if you are, let's say, a Temenos consultant. So Temenos, just to give you context, is a very popular banking software product used globally. So let's say if you're a Temenos consultant, then, and Temenos, it's a packaged product. That means it's not like something you can learn from Udemy or you can learn by on Google and pick up the skill set. So you have to really be working in the project and get certification or have access to the training material provided by the company to get to get the Temenos consulting or implementation skill set. That is why it is a very close circles. Only people who worked in that skill set will be able to work in those projects. So the supply is limited, and if you play your cards right, you can command a premium in such skill set. Similarly, for example, if you get into any Oracle product or into SAP product, so these products you cannot just kind of learn by doing some general courses and you'll be deployed. I know that there are some companies who give you some kind of training, but what I have seen is that those trainings are not much useful, unlike you do a Java course and get started on the project. So these product courses, you have to work in the project. So I think if given a choice, if you're a bit more self-aware and choose the right niche in your industry, you'd be able to command a premium. For example, let's say the example I was giving, a banking industry. Let's say you become a Temenos consultant. The premium that you command would be higher than someone, let's say, who's just a Java developer. You know, and similarly, let's say you're a business analyst. So if you become, let's say, a Temenos business analyst, that has different premium or a higher premium as compared to, let's say, normal you are just a banking business analyst, right? That is why it's important to choose a niche in your industry. Yeah. The next point I would like to highlight is the country selection. So I think I know it's not fair that for the same skill set you may earn X dollar in a particular country while 2x dollar in some other country, but that is how the world works. That is how the the labor is distributed across the world. So you have to make sure that where you choose to work has high income and low taxes, right? And what I mean is that, for example, let's take example of, let's say, Canada. Canada is a country where you have low salaries but high taxes. If you compare that country like Singapore, so Singapore has one of the highest salaries in the world with very low taxes. Similarly, Middle East has high salaries with little taxes. US, on the other hand, I think US is just kind of a very exception, because I think being the most important country in the world with the highest level of innovation happening, so US has the no doubt the one of the highest salary in the world, even though they are relatively higher taxes than countries like Singapore and Middle East. But somehow even the sometimes the salaries in US can be higher than in countries like Singapore. So if you can make sure that you work in these countries where salaries are high or taxes are very less, you can maximize your earnings out of your career. So I think if given a choice at the start of your career, if you get to work on site, I think you should take it with both hands. It will not only help you to earn money, it will also put more credibility into your resume. And the last part, I put a star mark here because I think, having said all the 3 points that I mentioned, the fourth item in this framework is very critical. So whatever surplus savings you have, you need to invest into stock markets. I know that everyone has their personal kind of risk tolerance framework. So whatever I'm suggesting is not like you bypass your personal risk tolerance and your personal goals and all. So I think this you have to do in the context of the typical personal finance framework, that you look at your time horizon, you look at your need of the funds, you look at your risk tolerance, and then you build up a asset allocation plan for you. But what I'm suggesting is that if you are starting your career, let's say at 22, you should be a bit more heavy into equities because you have a longer runway. So once you have decided on the asset allocation plan in equities, don't just blindly put into single stocks and some random stocks based on tips. I think that is where people go it wrong. Even myself, when at the start of my career, I think I quickly learned it in the first few years, and then luckily I kind of realigned my investment thesis. So instead of putting into random stocks, just put into S&P 500 or a Nasdaq 100 or things like a Nifty 50, which are like very old indexes with established track record of growth in it. Okay, in this way, you at least you'll be able to get the market return. So in US market, the average return is around 8 to 12%, while in Indian market it will be between 12 to 15%, which is the local currency return. So net in USD terms, you can expect around 8 to 10% overall. And when you say 10% returns a year, that is means like every 7 years, 7 years you can double your money, right? That is why I think investment is very important at the start of your career. And make sure that you arrive at your asset allocation very early in your career, so that you are maximize your odds of achieving a $1 million net worth as soon as possible. Okay. Now, next question you may ask me, I think, having said, okay, this is my framework, but how much is the time that I think realistically you can achieve? I think 10 years is a very good benchmark to have. So, assuming someone is starting at 22, I think by 30 to 33 years, this number is very well possible. And I'm not talking about someone high flyer like who is getting promoted every 2 years and then who is going to big MBB companies or like big tech companies. No, I'm just talking about an average person working in IT consulting firm, the common ones. I think you all are aware which companies I'm talking about. But make sure that when you're working in this company, you're working in some specific niche. You have specialized skill set and you work. Make sure to work in on-site locations or in countries where you have high salaries and low taxes. I think that is the key. So, assuming you do it for 10 years and then you reinvest your surplus into the market or your savings in the market, you'll definitely be able to achieve 1 million USD in around 10 years. So you need to have a better than average career growth. That means don't kind of have mess ups like getting into fight with your managers or like getting into fight with your HR, which can lead to you being laid off, or then putting a kind of a kind of a black dot on your resume so that no other companies hire. So don't need to get into that kind of HR issues. Just make sure that you do a good work, you get better than average ratings year after year, and then make sure that next point is that make sure that you do job switch at start of the career. I think this is very critical because if someone is starting at 22, you'd like to maximize your earning by doing as many job switches at the start of your career, because typically in the first 5 to 10 years is where it will be easy for you to move jobs. And when you change jobs in even in overseas countries, let's say like Singapore, typically the increment rates are between, let's say, 10 to 15-20% at max. So that way, if you are moving or changing company few times in the start of your career, then you can definitely increase your salary, and in the process also be able to reach your net worth target net worth at a faster pace. And the next point is no career breaks due to layoff. And this is not in your hands, I agree, but this is, so just make sure that you are critical to the company, your skill sets are niche, your skill sets are demand, so that whenever there is a layoff, you are try to minimize your chances of getting laid off. But again, I am cognizant of the fact that it's not completely in your hands, but as far as possible, try to avoid it. And the last point is that be like I've been mentioned, you have to be in the high income industry like banking or e-commerce, so that you can gain a higher than industry average kind of salary, and which will help you to get to this $1 million status. Okay. The other key factors, so whatever I've talked about so far is the framework and the general approach, which is very kind of specific to what you actually do, like picking up an industry, picking up a skill set, reinvesting your surplus. But the other softer aspects, I think, which you have to keep in mind is that uh, those things are not possible unless you put focus into this softer aspects, because I've seen people like who have mental breakdown, who have physical breakdown, because they take too much of stress, unable to handle the stress of their jobs, so that is why other key consideration I would like to highlight is that first thing, you need to have a healthy body. So never ever put your body on the line for your job or money. Nothing is worth it if your body is on the line. So just make sure to prioritize your health first, everything else comes secondary. I think if you focus on having a healthy body, money and career will automatically flow to you. And the second part is healthy mind. If you are healthy, if you're happy, I think your output will also be better in your workplace, because typically I've seen that if you, some people who are stressed out always, they tend to do poorly than people who are generally happy and easygoing. This is what I've observed. I think you would also agree to this. And the last thing is patience. Sometimes, I think career is, I always think that career is like stock markets. There are months where year worth of return would happen, like a stock may, let's say, increase 50% in few months, and there would be like years where the stock would just get 10%. That is why I think patience is important. Let's say, for example, someone who is starting a career and then he's unable to switch companies in the first few years, he's stuck in a company for 7 8 years, the salary growth would be lower. But let's say you are patient and then you manage to pick up some crucial skill set which is critical for the industry, then maybe you will be able to make up for your lost time by getting those increments at the right time. So you need to have patience. So I think if you take into account this framework that I explained, this framework, industry selection, skill selection, country selection, and investment selection, these four quadrants that I've listed down, these are very critical to achieve $1 million net worth status. And second is that the softer aspects like having a healthy body, healthy mind, and patience. So I think uh, if you focus into those area, I'm sure that even if you're like an average or above average IT consultant, you'll still be able to achieve $1 million net worth in 10 years. I hope you have liked this video. I'll be posting about similar such informative and useful videos, I think, which will help not only the newcomers to the industry, but as well as the people who are struggling or who feel stuck. I think it will help us kind of share our knowledge, and I'll also be able to give some tips for people who are, let's say, in other countries and trying to come into the on-site locations. I'll also be advising on how to kind of have your first opportunity there. So I hope that you would find this video useful. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more such quality content. I look forward to engage with you in the comment section for any queries that you may have. Thank you.